Alright, let's talk a little bit about the About page and some of the thoughts I had when developing this out. I tried to follow pretty much the the um, the wireframe. We can see here this is the wireframe for that, but um, as I started to build this out, some of the things, how a design like this in some ways can be hard to work um, on all devices, and it made me really question, what is some of the reasoning behind some of the design. Like for example, if we look at this image here, I'm assuming that's an image, and then we have two large titles and three subtitles. I don't know if that's just random, just randomly there, or if you guys actually have uh, you know a design in mind that's built out so that it looks like, you do have these multiple title lines. I couldn't see that working, and the design team that I was working with, they didn't understand really what was happening here, so it was really hard to design for. Again, one of the reasons, um, so important that we get the art for each page, as it's going to not just look exactly, but it's also going to define how the technology that goes into accomplishing the goals through that. Um, so it was a good opportunity to see how there was a bit of confusion, just from having this and not really knowing where to go after this point. So going back, you'll notice when I show you the screen, there's a title here, and I didn't know what to do here, and so I didn't know what to do with the picture. I mean, obviously, we need a photo to represent the About Us section. So if we go back, some of the questions that could not be answered from the materials that we have now. So do we want to have the H1 tag below the image? Do we want to have just a blank image? Do we want to remove the About Us here and have the title like we do on the home page for visual consistency across the pages? And if we do want to move that below, this is the Titanium Web font. Um, it, I think this looks better here. I mean, but that's fine. But even if we do want to put that here, it begs the question, if we're going to try to be consistent with other design elements in the site, especially from the home page, does this stay titanium, or does it go to a Roboto condensed? Is it capitalized? Is it italicized? Um, Talking about italics for a moment, Charles, you sent me that updated sheet, and Cody's comments as well to support that. I could not understand. Do you guys want every bit of the article text on all pages to be Roboto condensed italics? Um, that that looked really messy. Um, so I didn't do that. I mean, I can do that if you'd like. I mean, it's an easy change. It was really hard to read, in my opinion. But I can do there whatever you'd like. Um, One of the things uh, that looking through this, a good point that brings up is that in the initial design concepts for any site, it's really easy to think about how things look statically on the mock-up. Um, but we also have to consider how things, what happens to all of these elements as they break down. And I'll give you an example. It really doesn't matter. All the builders in the world, they have a left to right functionality, so that whatever is on the left collapses to be over top of what's on the right. And we'll see here that this looks great on the desktop version, but if we switch that to be mobile just a minute, what you're going to see happen is that this image is going to lay over top of this text, and then this text is going to lay over top of this image. So all of this text is going to run together. Let me show you what I mean by that. Alright, so there was that image. There was the text that was on the right. We can see now that the text was that was on the left is now above this image, so you can see how those run together. And also there's a gap there. The gap's easy enough to fix. We can fix that. But really what we want to happen is that we want to have some consistency with image, text, and then image, text, so that there's no confusion as to what text goes with what segment. And this could be a little confusing. Can that be done? Yes. Again, just like we talked about before, it's just going to take some custom CSS to do that. For now, what I would like to recommend is that, this is a really complicated page, and how all of that breaks down once it gets to a mobile device. And I think if we, just like we did with the fonts, if we take into consideration an initial desktop design that translates automatically over into the mobile aspects, the mobile design, I think we can avoid doing a whole lot of work. I mean, basically, if you weren't okay with the way this works now, this stacking order, then that really means every time that you guys write an article, that you would have to write separate not separate articles, but you would have to reformat that article for desktop and then reformat it again for desktop. I mean for mobile, and that can take so much time. But one of the things, again, wanted to point out, there's really no difference in the functionality as compared to the other pages. Everything falls into place the same. Everything that we saw last time. Again, just wanted to really, this is what I would like to talk about on this page. I just don't know what's happening here. Obviously, we need, again, we need a photo to represent about Shizuoka. We need to make a decision whether we want to have that over the image, or maybe we actually want this color scheme and this H2 scheme here instead of the black. We just, all of that's possible. We just need to decide what's best to do. Alright, so that is it for this page. I'll show you a smaller phone screen just to see what that looks like. But at the same time, it's just going to break down and it's going to follow the same patterns as the other one. So a lot, like I said, a lot of decisions and programming went into what can we do automatically. That's a little small. It's a 50%. So that it translates over as best it can once it hits a mobile device, and while taking into consideration doing the best that we can to make sure that all mobile devices are covered. I think based on what we've done here, some of the most popular phones, we've done that. Alright, so that's it for this video. Again, real short and sweet. And let's check out next the general page and the listing page together.